For us foresters and restoration workers, rural communities are home. We work in these woods. They're the backbone to our local economies. The long-term resilience of our watersheds and communities is inseparable from the health of our forests. We don't want to eliminate forestry. We're calling for a different approach to forestry. Forestry that's rooted in resilience. One of the main reasons our Pacific Northwest watersheds experience catastrophic floods is because of decades of clear-cut logging, which has decimated our forest's natural ability to absorb rainfall and slow the rate at which water is released back into our watersheds. Across private and public lands, including state forest managed by the Department of Natural Resources, most of what was once ancient forest has been removed. This is a DNR VRH, a variable retention harvest. That is the retention, and this is the harvest. At a watershed scale, VRH functions like clear cutting. When intact forests are clear-cut, their protective sponge-like capabilities are greatly reduced. Rainwater flows unchecked, soils wash away, and rivers swell with all of this sediment, harming salmon, aquatic life, and increasing flood risk.
Developing now on this come weather-worn day, historic and devastating floods
continues to wreak havoc in the Green River Valley, affecting the communities of Auburn and Kent, Washington.
We are seeing evacuations in the town of Sumas, Nooksack, Everson, Marietta, just over the past couple of days.
Rural counties spend tens of millions on flood repairs. Rural counties pay these costs first, often spending far more on disaster response and repairs than they ever receive from timber revenue. These costs are rarely included when logging revenue is cited, but they are paid by local taxpayers all the same. And still, hillsides continue to be clear-cut, intensifying floods and landslide risk. Once clear-cut, these forests are often replaced with monoculture plantations, like this DNR plantation where an ancient forest once stood. These artificial tree farms lack the biodiversity and soil structure of a natural forest. On these plantations, industrial herbicides like imazapyr, triclopyr, and glyphosate are often sprayed from helicopters or by hand.
Oh, man.
One of the main industry arguments for clear cutting and herbicide spraying is that trees grow back, that trees are a renewable resource. In a way, this is true, but it undermines the fact that when you destroy an intact forested ecosystem and replace it with an artificial plantation, the forest doesn't grow back, and neither does the hydrologic integrity. So, here's the problem. Or rather, here's the solution. Older forests are hydrologically mature, the structural complexity of a healthy older forest, the sponge-like soils and root systems, the densely saturated down logs and woody debris, and the moisture-loving epiphytes and forest floor plant life. They all act like a giant sponge to absorb large volumes of heavy rainfall and release this rainfall back into the watershed at a much more uniform and predictable rate. The hydrologic maturity of older forests also keeps streams cool and clean and flowing, the lifeblood that salmon depend on. Protecting older forests and ending clear-cut logging is one of the best immediate strategies we have to protect our communities from expensive and heartbreaking damage. When a forest is clear-cut, especially an older, structurally complex, biodiverse forest, you completely destroy the forest's ability to mitigate flooding. Some of you may be asking, don't we need wood to build with? As a culture, we need wood, especially to build the homes we live in. We need to build high-quality homes that will last multiple generations, instead of fast, poorly built structures common today that are built primarily for profit, not for longevity, destined for the landfill. To produce wood, we don't need a clear-cut forest, and we don't need to spray toxic herbicides. We can create a new paradigm of forestry, teams of skilled labor, longer rotations, selective harvest, protecting mature structurally complex forests, safeguarding biodiversity, and restoring degraded tree plantations so our forests stay intact and more resilient to pest, disease, wind throw, and wildfire. We need to grow, process, and utilize our wood locally. We can create more jobs in the woods through labor-intensive ecological forestry, restoration work, and watershed repair, while keeping forests functioning, watersheds intact, and rural communities strong for generations to come.